welcome back to Home Boundless. I'm Cherish, and today we're going to talk all about soil blocking. If you're here, you've probably already heard of soil blocking and you're interested in it. I think that there's a lot of good information out on the internet, so what I'm going to talk about specifically is the way that I have been doing it this year. I've been soil blocking for 4 or 5 years, I don't remember, and I've always had a goal to come up with a good mixture that is peat-free. This year I've taken it a little bit further, and I have been using a mix that is soil-free. So no soil, no compost. And the reason why I'm doing this is because soil and compost can bring bugs into your growing area, and I want to use my growing area for hydroponic gardening after I'm done, so I don't want to introduce anything that's going to stay. And so far I've been really successful. We've had some bugs in the house, but they haven't been in the growing area. So I think they've been coming in like with store bananas. So far really successful, very happy with it, and my plants look pretty happy too. My main ingredient in my soil blocking recipe is coconut coir, and this is probably going to be, I'm sorry, I thought I would let the chickens out and they would be like cute in the background, and they are so noisy. That's okay. Maybe they'll wander by and make it all worth it, or maybe I'll have to refilm everything because you can't hear anything. But if you're not using peat, then chances are you are using coconut coir. And the reason why I like using coconut coir is because it's a byproduct, so it's a very renewable resource. It grows on trees, literally. It does have to get shipped here, but like it comes in these bricks, so you're not shipping water. It's pretty handy like that. In the past, I've tried to save money, and I've tried buying coconut coir from like a pet store that they use in snake cages, and do not do that because like this doesn't really have much of a smell at all, but the coconut coir that you get from pet stores has a very, whoa, my chicken just got dirt all over me. The coconut coir that you get in pet stores has a very strong smell. I think it's probably been treated with something that inhibits growth, so definitely not what you want when you're trying to grow plants. So get just, you know, garden use coconut coir, and it comes in bricks. And one little trick for expanding your coconut coir is water temperature. Now my first year I just stuck it in cold water because that was the easiest for me to get my hands on, and it took forever. So I've got cold water here and some warm water here. Let's see if I can take a reading with this. 49.6 degrees on the cold water, Fahrenheit. Hey, get out of my water! And 100.2. Ooh, you just drank really hot water, Bowie. Are you proud of yourself? 102 in the hot water. So let's see how quickly it expands in cold water versus warm water or hot water. Okay, so that was super quick. And as you can see, the cold water one has started to expand. We can peel a bit of it off. But the warm water one, we have some on top that just didn't get wet. But we kind of had to stop the experiment because we are running out of water. So I can squeeze this down and see if I can get the rest of this wet. But feel like that's pretty conclusive. Cold water, warm water. And this is a brick of coconut coir. As you can see, it's kind of squished right now, but one brick really inflates, it really expands a lot. So here, I will add it. So this is some previous coconut coir. Now if I'm using it right away, then I might add some liquid fertilizer to the water. But if I'm gonna let it sit, I don't add anything because it sits really well if you don't add anything to it. So if you don't know how much you're going to be using, just do it with pure water. And then if you don't end up using it all, then you can just wait until you're ready. So I'm going to add some of this in so we can get a better, here. You can go with the cold and expand it over there. Here we have just plain coconut coir. Now this is almost done. This is almost all I add. Then what I like to add, I'm gonna put a mask on because this does get really powdery when you first dump it in, but I add perlite. I believe you can probably add vermiculite. I have some. I haven't experimented with perlite. I haven't experimented with vermiculite in my potting soil, or at least not in recent years. So I've been using perlite and it works well, so I'm sticking with it. But what the perlite does is when you do a soil block, you're really compressing it. So you have this compressed coir, and having perlite in it just adds, it's kind of like a filler, like it adds a little something to improve the aeration of the soil. So it makes it so that the coconut coir, it makes it so that the block isn't just a solid block of coconut coir, because that might be difficult for your plants to really grow and thrive and breathe in. Speaking of breathing, let's not worry about the powder. So I just put a couple of loose handfuls in here. I don't really have a specific ratio that I use. It's just mostly coconut coir and some perlite. Yeah, the block of coconut coir didn't really have a smell when it was just a block, but now that it's been hydrated and expanded, it has a little more of a smell, but it's really not that bad. Another reason why I use this recipe is because I have multiple chemical sensitivity, so I can't just leave the house and go to a store and buy a bag of potting mix. All the shopping done out of the home is really falling on my partner's shoulders, and while he will happily go and buy me compost if I ask him to go buy me compost, it's really nice to just be able to order in ingredients that will ship to me, usually free depending on where I get them, and they keep really well if I don't use them all up, and they don't attract bugs. So this mix is great if you are homebound like me. And it's not super heavy, so you're really not burdening a postal worker or a delivery worker too much by having this delivered to your house. It's way easier to manipulate than a bag of compost. Okay, I think I'm going to put in a little more perlite. Then as far as dry ingredients goes, this is it. Now because this coconut coir is mixed with some dry coconut coir, it's not quite ready. It doesn't hold together very well. If I made a soil block out of this right now, I'll show you. Show you what happens. So if I made a block out of this right now, you can see it really falls apart quickly and it doesn't stay together. Oh no! I just dumped a bunch out. Well, it's not gonna hurt the grass. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little water, and since we're hydrating this, I'm going to add my secret weapon. Because I've taken compost out of the mix, the plants, they'll do fine in just coconut coir and perlite for a while, but you're going to want to have fertilizer for them eventually. So you can just do it like this, And then down the road, when you go to water them, start adding a little liquid fertilizer into your water. But since I'm doing this now, I'm gonna add it now. Now it's possible to add too much water. It's trickier than you would, is that leaking? Nah, it just got me wet. It's trickier than you would think to add too much water because the coconut coir really does absorb water very well. I think I might have put too much water in this. That's okay. Because we really are gonna squeeze a lot of it out in the next. So now, if I squeeze it into a ball, it remains a ball. So I think we're good. The other thing I could do, since this is a little too much water, is I could squeezing out some water from the coconut coir. Just add some more coconut coir. Squeeze out the water. Oh no. And add it in. And that'll soak up a little bit of the extra water. Hey chicken. Hey. You gonna come visit me? Nope. Not gonna visit. Okay. Oh, now that my hands are nice and dirty. Let's talk a bit about equipment. What do you need to do soil blocking? Well, you need your growing mixture, your medium, and you need a soil blocker. And that's kind of all you really need. You can use like a plastic tray that you get with leftovers, like anything flat that has a little lid to hold some water. You can use that and you'll be fine. And that's a great way to start. I have this little 4 blocker that I've used for like since the beginning of my soil blocking journey. I've had this guy and it's been great. And honestly, if you are a small grower like I am, this is all you need as far as soil blockers. But this went missing and it was time for me to start my tomatoes, and I panicked and I couldn't find it anywhere. And also I had been seeing a lot of flower farmer videos and they all use the mini blocker, which is so cute, and I had been like curious about it for a while. So because I couldn't find my regular one, I ordered a mini blocker, which honestly for a small grower is kind of too much. And I'm really still learning with this. The problem that I have with this one is I can't water them very well and I can't label them very well. So I don't know that I like these for me. If I was growing large amounts of everything, these would be fantastic. For a small grower, you don't need the mini blocker. Excuse me. And when I bought the mini blocker, I bought it from a website that sold it like as a set, as a group. So, I bought it with this guy. And this one came with, these are the same. They came with the same parts, but it was just really convenience, since I had 2 now because I lost this one, to put the cubes into this one. And the nice thing about this one is that this cube is the same size as these guys. So when I started a bunch of flowers, as soon as they were bigger, actually a little bit later because I got really sick, so they didn't do so well. Moving on. But you're able to pick up the little cubes and just put them in the holes that are left by these. So that is really slick. I really like that. I still need to do, that was very noisy. I still need to do a lot of learning and experimenting to figure out how to keep the mini blocks well watered, but not too well watered. It was, yeah, it was messy, but that's okay because it takes time to like really get your system going. And the other thing that I used this one for this year, and it worked really well, is peas. Now these have like a giant well in the middle, and so they don't really work very well if, you know, this square block doesn't work that well if you're just planting like little seeds. Like tomatoes, you don't need a big well for your thing. Although, you know, you could put them in the well and then as they grow up taller, like fill in the hole, because tomatoes really like, tomatoes will grow more roots, so that's a bad example. But if you put a flower in the well, it's in a well for no reason. But this year I started some blocks like this, and my child wanted to help me, so I had her plant the peas, and the peas went in the well, and then we buried them, and it was just enough space to easily get the pea in. These can be a little tight for big seeds like peas. So I'm gonna experiment more with the mini blocker because I would like to get that system down, but this guy is gonna be my go-to for peas and maybe squash seeds. Probably squash seeds. It's almost time to start melons and stuff, but not quite yet. It is a beautiful summery day today, but it is finally spring. Last week, the snow was up to here. And today, it's so hot. Yeah, I've mentioned in other videos that I don't grow a lot of spring crops because I don't get a spring. I have winter, and then it's too hot. And then it's back to winter again. So like, it's not like I can plant summer stuff right now. It is a weird time of year where Kayla's king. If you want to do soil blocking, you need a soil block. And you could try making your own. I made one out of a tin can when I was first starting, and it did not work. But I've seen other people make them out of wood, and they've been successful with it. So I can't tell you how to do it because it didn't work for me. But honestly, they're nice because once you have them for years. But getting them is an investment. But yes, if you want to get into soil blocking, technically this is what you need. You need a soil blocker, and then you just need the regular stuff you need for growing stuff. You need, you know, soil and trays. But speaking of trays and speaking of investments, I like to put my soil blocks, can you see me? No, I can see you, but I don't think you can see me. I like to put my soil blocks, ooh, maybe you can, into these mesh trays. And these are an investment. These are from Bootstrap Farmer, and I'm not sponsored or anything, but dang, they make good trays. And then I have, just a solid one that I put underneath. And this is also from Bootstrap Farmer. And all the heavy duty trays that I've gotten from other places, they're broken, they're gone. And all I have left is Bootstrap Farmer stuff because it lasts. So you don't need it. You can make do with whatever you have in your home, reduce, reuse. But if you want to make an investment that is like a plastic, yes, but it's a plastic that's going to last you for years. If you treat them really well, I don't know how long they'll last. They're super, super heavy duty, and I love them. But I like to use a mesh and tray combo because then I can bottom water the plants. So I like to leave a little channel, and I'll show you, I'm gonna do a tray. I'm gonna show you how I leave space for the water. But I like to leave a little space so that I can pour water into here, and then it floods the bottom tray. So it goes up like just a little bit of water into the mesh tray, but the bottom tray has some residual water, so as the plants get more and more roots, they can even like dip in and get whatever's left behind. And this way, bottom watering, it keeps the bricks from breaking apart, because sometimes I don't do the best mix, and sometimes they're not super structural. But if you have them planted like this, with the mesh tray and the bottom tray, then they really stand up well, and I think they really appreciate bottom watering. I think if you tried top watering them unless you have a very, very gentle like system. It's just gonna crumble and fall apart. So this is what I use. Mesh tray, bottom tray. Yeah, I guess I'll do some potting and walk you through it a bit. Oh, there's just way too much water in here. Start with the mini blocker. Now normally when I fill up a tray, I do all one. It's so windy, can you hear me? Now I like to do sort of a press and wiggle. I press and wiggle the blocker into the soil. And then I like to just kind of push in and make sure that all the holes are filled. Sometimes they look filled, but if you press them, they're very much not. I can even get a little bit of water out right now, but you don't want to squeeze it too much. So you want to do that here. So now we're going to push it down. You want this flat, obviously. We're going to push it down and we're going to squeeze. And then I like to make sure as I'm pulling up that I leave it on top of it and then gently kind of give it another squeeze or two as I'm pulling up. Ooh. And that way anything that's left in here is going to fall on the block where it belongs. It's kind of hard to see black soil blocks on brown soil blocks on black mesh tray, but here is the mini blocker. Same basic thing for the square holes. So we're going to rock it and wiggle it and push it, and then ooh, sometimes I give it a little squeeze or two while it's still in the mix. Oh, yeah, this is way too wet and it just fell out. Okay. I'm gonna make sure that my B-roll is a little bit better mixed for you. Oh no! I am getting wet potting mix all over my boots. And then, yeah, as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, this one didn't get very well filled. So sometimes I just squeeze it in by hand. Why not? Okay, so we have soil block. Ooh, got our soil blocker. Put it down. Squeeze. And yeah, especially for this shape, I find it's very important to make sure that you are pulling straight up and giving it a couple of extra squeezes to give it a chance to fall down here. So, ooh, there's some beautiful giant wells. And then we'll do just the normal one. Oh, this is way too wet. I have made a mistake. Squeeze, rock, squeeze, up, and then let it go. Ba-da-da! Perfect. Perfect. Look at these beautiful soil blocks. It's almost a shame what I'm about to do right now. Oh, what a mess. Okay, now as I said before, this was too wet, so I'm going to put in some more coconut coir. Because I'm going to go inside so I can show you guys a top down, but I'm going to mix it together. It's going to be B-roll. You've already seen it. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this so that you know that I added more coconut coir in between the shots. after a while it gets compacted. So you gotta break it up a bit. In a pinch, you can squeeze these a bit and get another row here, but I like to leave this whole channel for watering. So I take a watering can and I water right into here until I see it coming up through the holes. If you're doing a whole tray of these, you can probably just take a grease pen and write on it what you're doing. But if you're using these labels, if you pierce through the block, it will destroy the block. The block might fall apart. So it took me so long to figure this out. I just figured it out this year. But if you put it to the side, then just put a little bit of loose growing medium behind it, then it holds it up and it doesn't do anything to make the block fall apart. So a little bit of potting soil behind your labels. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today, and I will see you next time. Bye!